women will sit there and say, "Oh yeah, no, it's fine. I'd let my boyfriend cry on my shoulder, tell me about all this and that." But like in reality, she's gonna get turned off just because of that fact.
First of all, I don't actually think that's true. But even if it was, for the sake of argument, I'll just grant that to you. That's being a f***ing simp. And that's what I don't get is that Andrew Tate comes along and says, like, I'm the masculine alpha male, yo. Don't let women control you. But now you're going to literally harm your own mental well-being, raise your risk of suicide and depression for a girl? That sounds like some major simp behavior right there.
Like women are, they're basically trying to become masculine. Like they're taking the traits of a man onto a woman. They're basically like they're trying to get power. Like power over a man.
You would have to give me something to demonstrate this. I don't think that women as a collective are trying to get power over a man. But again, you're saying you should compromise your own well-being for the sake of attracting women. You're giving that woman so much more power. I see you, chat, and yeah, it's quite possible that this guy is young, but that's why I'm going about this in a little bit more of a different way. I think that whenever I'm arguing with somebody who seems young, but also like they're trying to engage in good faith, I feel that I can be more persuasive towards them. Is it okay if I ask how old you are?
I'm 16.
Okay. So what's up? I told you to get into my Discord after you commented and said, as if this nerd knows anything about the real world or something like that.
Yeah. I was talking about, you were saying some, wait, I can't say like any like slurs or not slurs like
you can swear. I don't care if you say like fuck, pussy, whatever. I don't care anything about that. It's just so no slurs, like nothing that's gonna violate to you guys.
Right, yeah. So basically, you were saying some shit about like Andrew Tate or something, like that. He was saying get out, like quote, get out. All his whole motto is get out the matrix, whatever. And, like,
are you? Hey, I'm really sorry to interrupt you. Are you able to talk any closer to your phone? It sounds really echoey, and it's kind of hard for me to hear you.
Yeah, I got you. Okay. So basically, you were talking about Andrew Tate, like his whole motto being, like get out the matrix and clowning him on that.
Uh-huh.
Do you believe in, or like not believe? Do you think what Andrew Tate does is right?
Do I think what Andrew Tate does is right? I think that Andrew Tate is kind of a symptom of a larger issue. I think that there's a lot of rigid expectations on men. I think that men are feeling very, I think that men feel that they don't have a good community or a good place right now. And I think that somebody like Andrew Tate comes along and he kind of offers them solutions, but they're not really solutions. They're just leading them down a bad path, kind of like what I said in that short. Like I said, there's a lot of rigid expectations for men. A lot of these expectations are harmful to men, and Andrew kind of reinforces them and teaches a view of masculinity that I find to be incredibly harmful and detrimental for men's overall mental well-being.
I mean, the view he has on masculinity is kind of like, it's a realization to the world we live in now, where men are just like living in this, oh, it's okay to give your expressions and your emotions and show them to your like to your girlfriends, to your girl. Like it's basically like he's just opening the eyes of like young men who don't really know what they're doing.
Wait, Andrew Tate, doesn't he argue against men showing their emotions to like their girlfriend and stuff?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying he's opening those people's eyes.
Yeah, but that's the problem.
How?
Because telling men not to show their emotions is detrimental for men's mental well-being.
Well, that's just how the world works.
Okay, well, that's the thing is, see, you, along with Andrew Tate, are content being like, well, that's just how the world is, bruh. Well, at one point, slavery was just how the world is, bruh. But you have to be able to recognize what's harmful and push for a legitimate change. And in this case, Andrew Tate telling men that they should suppress their emotions or be stoic or suck it up, be a man, these are incredibly detrimental for men's mental well-being. They've done numerous studies, not even involving just men or masculinity, just general studies showing that when people in general suppress emotion and bottle emotions up, they are far more likely to attempt suicide or suffer from depression. This is just setting men up for negativity, especially for all the talk that we hear from Sneeko and Andrew Tate and these other red pill people about how men commit suicide at higher rates. That's true. But part of that reason is because men do not feel that they can adequately express their emotions. Men feel emotions the same as everybody else. It's wrong to expect men to just be these stoic, emotionless robots, especially if we care about men committing suicide.
So basically, it's not really that's really more of what the other gender expects, like what women expect of men, because women will sit there and say, "Oh yeah, no, it's fine. I'd let my boyfriend cry on my shoulder, tell me about all this and that." But like in reality, she's gonna get turned off just because of that fact.
Yeah, and I hear
So
this argument a lot, and I understand that, but like this is where the disconnect comes in. Is first of all, I don't actually think that's true. But even if it was, for the sake of argument, I'll just grant that to you. That's being a fucking simp. And that's what I don't get is that Andrew Tate comes along and says, like, I'm the masculine alpha male, yo. You gotta be alpha. You gotta be masculine. Don't let women control you. But now you're going to literally harm your own mental well being, raise your risk of suicide and depression for a girl? That sounds like some major simp behavior right there.
I mean, that's just like you brought up slavery, but that's a whole different matter because that's inequality. Like inequality as in races. We're talking about how who you have to be as a man to get a girl because you have to change like you have to be a man. Like what is the definition of a man? Like a real man. Like someone who doesn't just fold under a girl, someone who just doesn't show his emotions. So
No, but you're
like
talking about folding for a girl right now. You're saying
Mhm.
that a man, even if he is expressing, or excuse me, even if he's feeling legitimate emotions, that he should bottle those up, which is harmful for his own mental well being for a girl. He's giving that girl full control to the point that he's willing to risk suicide and depression just so that what? He can have sex? That's, again, simp behavior.
Okay, let me give you an example. Let's say you were in the army, right? And you're in the middle of war. You were in a tent that is under fire, right?
Hmm.
You have a general, and then let's say you're like under the general, right? You're one of the soldiers, and you're sitting there like, what do we do? What do we do? We're gonna die. And then you just look at the general, and he's sitting there crying, saying he doesn't know what to do. How would you feel if he was doing that? You wouldn't like you'd be like, yeah, we're dead.
Yeah,
You
well,
wouldn't.
hold on, hold on. Yes, but that's the thing is that I feel like everybody makes the same mistake whenever I have this conversation. I'm not saying that, okay, hold on. Me saying men should express their emotions is not the same as saying men should be breaking down, crying, and sobbing over everything and anytime they're scared. But again, I say this all the time this is the rule for everybody. Women, too, should not be breaking down, sobbing when the baby needs a diaper change or when she's late for her business meeting. Like, yeah, there's a time and a place to express emotions, of course. This is called emotional intelligence, recognizing the time and the place and then acting appropriately. So yeah, no, I don't think if you're like a general in the army, that you should start like sobbing because you're scared. Again, there is also a time and a place where you do need to be strong. I recognize that, and I'm not even against that. But this general mentality that you're a man, so you need to suck it up at all times, that is what's detrimental. Again, I'm not saying men should just be sobbing their butt off every fucking place they go, but they should be able to express their emotions to their partner, with their friends, and they should have a healthy outlet to do so.
I mean, like obviously some emotion, but at the same time, the way Andrew Tate says is a lifestyle. You either choose to follow it or you don't. And whether you do or don't, and you like have risks or you don't, and you face the consequences or you don't, that's all up to you.
Could you say
Since
that
you're the
again?
one who.
I'm not sure I understand what you mean. Could you say that again?
Okay. So basically, everything you see on the internet, you're not like obligated to do it. It's a choice. It's a lifestyle. So like what he says on the internet, people take it like some people take it out of context, right? Some people go like I've seen videos of people going on girls' live streams and just like saying, get in the kitchen, blah blah blah. That's not his whole motto. That's not what he says. That's just taken out of context. So basically, so basically, what I'm saying is, hold up, I just lost my train of thought.
No, it's okay. You were saying that Tate advocates for more of a lifestyle, and a lot
Yeah,
of
yeah,
people
yeah.
take it out of context.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, he basically says a lifestyle, and it's basically men's choice, saying, "Do I want to keep living my life like this, or do I want to try this lifestyle, see how it goes for me?" So basically, like he's not saying don't show any emotion, don't get mad, don't get sad, don't show your woman, don't give any power. He's basically just saying stay as a man because like women are starting to become masculine, like like what's the word? It's like opposite to masculine. I forgot what it's called.
Oh yeah, feminization of men.
Yeah, yeah. They're basically trying to become masculine. Like they're
I don't
taking
know.
the traits of a man onto a woman.
But
and
like,
that's not right.
what trait are you talking about?
Like they're basically like they're trying to get power, like power over a man. Like
Wait, no. I don't, you would have to give me something to demonstrate this. I don't think that women as a collective are trying to get power over a man. But again, what you're saying is the equivalent of you should give the power to the woman because you're saying you should compromise your own well being for the sake of attracting women. You're giving that woman so much more power over you. You know what I think is fucking alpha? Not being afraid to express emotions if it's an appropriate time and a place, and not bottling it up and risking your own mental well-being because, oh, a girl's nearby and she might think that I'm not manly enough. Like, it's alpha to do what the fuck you want to do and do what's best for you, for your own mental well-being, and not give a shit what other people think. It sounds like the version of masculinity that at least you're explaining to me based on what Andrew Tate is saying is give power to women.
I mean, I don't really understand who you're targeting when you say you have to 100% of the time be completely a man and not show any emotion, because that's not what Andrew Tate stands for.
Yeah, but you said that that men are becoming feminized and that women are becoming masculine. Where is this
Mhm.
happening? Usually, when people say men are becoming feminized, they mean men are being more emotional.
I mean, yeah, and men being gay too.
Wait, okay, men being gay has nothing to do with this. But
But
so are you conceding then that in your mind, or at least
wait, hold
based
on.
on maybe what you've heard from Andrew Tate, the feminization of men includes men expressing their emotions and crying?
Wait, say that again. My fault. My monitor, like, it just turned off and I lost my focus. What were you saying?
No, it's okay. I was saying, do you then acknowledge that Andrew Tate's version of masculinity, or when he talks about the feminization of men, that is encompassing men crying and expressing emotion?
So am I acknowledging that when men cry,
Well,
they,
I can explain it differently. You said
yeah,
that the feminization of men is taking place, that women are becoming masculine and men are becoming
yeah.
more feminine.
Mhm.
When you say men are becoming more feminine, does that mean partially that, or part of what it means for a man to be more feminine is crying and expressing emotion?
Yeah.
Okay, but see, that's the problem right there. That shouldn't be seen as a feminine thing. That's a human thing.
Okay, in your mind, when you think of a relationship, you think of a man standing over a woman, like with his hand over her shoulder. Now, when you think of that, and you think of the girl having a problem, and she like, let's say, something bad happened, right? Like something, she's on her period. You see her crying with the man, like crying, being like, and then the man like comforting her. That's what you see, right? Like anybody would see that. You don't see what's called like a 6'5" jack dude crying to his for what's called for a 5'2" girl. Like you don't picture that, right? Like you picture the girl, like the man being there, because you have to have a foundation. You
Wait,
can't
but
have,
you could do both. I think that a
yeah,
healthy relationship, again, is one where if the partner needs to get emotional and needs to cry on somebody's shoulder, that they are there for each other. That if the wife needs to cry, the husband's there. And if the husband has emotions or if he needs to cry about something, the wife is there. This is why, for example, studies have also shown that when people are in relationships that focus on equality, when the partners are treated as equals, those relationships thrive, they do better, and it lowers the likelihood of divorce. This, again, is the way that if we care about men and we want men to have long lasting, healthy relationships, then you start by recognizing the fact that equality is actually a necessity. You say that there needs to be a foundation in the relationship. I agree with you. That foundation should be equality. That you are both equals here. You bring different things to the table. You can each benefit the other in different ways. And you should be there for each other. If my wife is crying and sad, I'm going to be there for her. If I'm crying and sad, she's going to be there for me.
I mean, but equality, like equality in a relationship is a risk you have to take, because like let's say your girlfriend for 5 years, right? Like your wife for 5 years. Let's say you try to have equality with her and you show your emotions to her and she leaves you. That's a risk for men. You think men really want to take that risk
It's a
just
risk
for
to be in a
equality?
relationship in general. Just a relationship is a level of risk that you're taking. But yeah, no, I would hope to God that if you've been married to somebody for 5 years and you express your emotion or start crying, that the wife would not leave you. And honestly, if she left a man because he cried, especially if it was something like, again, legitimate in a appropriate time and a place, then fuck her. You're better off without her. That's like the shittiest thing you can do. So
I mean,
I don't really know what that, I mean, I don't know what you mean when you say like it's taking a risk. It's taking a risk to be in a relationship. The woman is taking a risk by being in a relationship. For example, do you know how many men will propose to women and then after they're married, the man just like turns into a different person and starts beating the fuck out of her? This is like more or less kind of a common thing that happens. Relationships are in and of themselves a risk. But if you want to mitigate that risk, and if you want to lower the likelihood that any kind of relationship is going to end in divorce, you should be pushing for equality. You shouldn't be pushing for the domineering husband and the submissive little wife. It should be based on equality because that's what's been demonstrated to benefit relationships and reduce the likelihood of divorce.
I mean, like if you look at statistically, the higher average of like relationships, you're not gonna find equality. So it's really depressing to just go out and like look for a relationship where like both the man and the girl are equal. And at the same time, like equality is really impossible in a relationship because the girl can't do everything that the man can do. It goes the other way around. The man can't do everything that the girl can do. So you can't really be equal in a relationship where both don't really want to be equal or
Well, hold
can't be
on.
equal.
Hold on. I think that you're misunderstanding. When I say equal, I don't mean identical carbon copies of each other. I mean that you are both treated equally by the other partner. So if the man is crying, the response from the wife should be, "What's wrong? Let me comfort you. I'm here for you. I can be a support for you." If the wife is crying, the response from the man should be, "What's wrong? Let me comfort you. I can be a support for you." Obviously, yes, there are differences, and that's okay. It's partially those differences that lead to the relationship thriving, of course. I don't mean that, but by equality, I'm not saying you need to be a carbon copy of each other. I'm saying that you should both be treated equally by the other. It shouldn't be the husband makes the final decision and the wife has to go along with it. You should ideally come to a mutual agreement. And again, I'm going to keep going back to what I've already said, which is this has already been demonstrated to reduce the likelihood of divorce. So if that's what the statistics are showing, odds are it's better and more beneficial for relationships long term to be built on a level of equality. There can be differences and still be equality.
Okay, so this has basically been like this whole argument has been around what Andrew Tate said. He said that women or should have to be like alpha. They have to be masculine. They shouldn't have to show emotion or that much emotion at that point, not just like no emotion at all. Basically that, right? Do you agree with that?
That men, no, I don't agree that men should not show emotion.
No, like not like zero emotion, like some emotion, but at the same time be like more there for the woman than the woman is for the man. It can also be the other way around. It's
I
just
think
like
it should be equal.
yeah, I know, but like in this world, because not if everybody was equal, then that'd be great. That'd be great that a man can go what's it called cry to the woman, and the woman can go cry to the man, and it can be like vice versa. That'd be perfect in a world. But in this world, and like in an average relationship, like yeah, I believe that there's relationships where they're equal, right? But that has to be at a smaller like percentage of the world than the percentage of the world where it's basically a trend to have the male like basically be there for the woman more.
Sure, but I feel like you're kind of falling back into the same thing you already said, which is the this is how things are. Things,
Hmm.
yes, there are some things that are the way that they are, obviously, but that doesn't mean that that's good, and that doesn't mean that that's what we should continue feeding into. And so the way things are right now is that white men are disproportionately committing suicide. The way things are right now is that white men are disproportionately lonely and having a hard time finding love and making friends. You don't just give in to the way things are and start just working with that, basically saying, well, white men are killing themselves more, they're more depressed, but you got to kind of suck it up, do what you got to do. No, it's okay to advocate for legitimate change. And you're probably right that, yeah, most relationships still have a degree of inequality, but that's not I'm not concerned about that. I'm not talking about the way things are. I'm talking about the way that things should be. And so just if the way things are, that doesn't mean that that's the way things should be. Does that make sense?
Hmm. But like, yeah, I like you can believe in inequality, right? But how is that really gonna happen? Like, you can believe in equality, but if it doesn't happen in the world, then like, you know what I'm saying?
It's already starting to happen in the world. I mean, I'm in an equal relationship with my wife,
Mm.
and we've
How long
been
did
we've
that
been doing great. I know
how
that's
long did
just an
that take you to
anecdote, but
find?
like, huh?
How long did that take you to find?
I'm sorry, I missed that again.
How long did that take you to find?
Um, I don't know. I don't know what you mean. I dated around for a little while, and then yeah,
Mhm.
me and Carissa met and started going out, and then yeah, now we're married. I don't know like
Like
how long it was for me to find, but
like
pretty much any time I've been in a relationship, it's been more or less equal. I've never had a problem with if it's somebody I trust, opening up to them and being a little vulnerable, and then they can open up to me and be vulnerable as well. This is how you form deep and intimate connections with people. So yeah, I don't know what you mean exactly, but how long has it did it take me? I don't know what you mean by that.
I mean like yeah, you already kind of explained it to me. It's like how many people did you have to date and like want equality with? Because at the same time, you can't really like you could say that every person you've been with like push for equality and you had equality with them because some people are just gonna lie to you, like they're literally just gonna lie to you, even if they don't like it. They're probably just gonna lie to you and say, "Yeah, yeah, we can be equal. You can tell me your emotions. I don't care."
Well, that's not exactly. It's not okay. Yeah,
Can
it's not that awkward. It's not like I'm
can you give
sitting
me a
down.
second? My mom's calling me real quick. I'll be right
It
back.
just sounds like you have a really sad view of relationships and whatnot. I mean, I know it's kind of a stereotype to be like, oh, did you face rejection and now you're mad at all women? Haha. But like, have you had like a tough breakup or something? Did you face like some rejection that kind of set you on this path a little bit, or did you just start watching Andrew Tate and kind of came to this mindset?
I mean, not really. I had a relationship. It lasted for like a year. We broke up like a month ago or some shit. But basically, it was pretty equal to be honest. It wasn't like what's it called? It wasn't like Andrew Tate's, but yeah.
Right. Okay. I mean, yeah, I think that what I'll say is like, I think you and I both agree, especially if you're watching Andrew Tate, that like it's good for men to have relationships. And I don't know if Andrew Tate is like all anti-marriage or whatever, but generally speaking, marriage is extremely beneficial for both men and women. Men who are married literally have longer lifespans. They are healthier. They are happier. All available data shows that men who are married fare better than single men. So, with that in mind, and if we care about men, then our goal should be let's see men get married and thrive as much as possible. And unfortunately, right now, with the type of ideals that are being pushed forward by Andrew Tate, this hyper masculine view, that is more likely to ruin that marriage in multiple different ways. So, for example, sorry for being long winded here, but just really quick. For example, there was a study done not too long ago where they looked at what happened to men when they felt that they were failing to live up to certain masculine expectations. And those men were more likely to act out in abusive ways against their partners. Domestic violence, domestic abuse is one of the leading causes of divorce. So, what you have here is someone like Andrew Tate saying, to be a man, you have to be masculine, and this is what that looks like. And then you have men who feel that they're failing to live up to that standard that's been set, and then they're more likely to abuse their partners, hence, more likely to destroy their relationships. This is why I say that Andrew Tate and these red pill types are setting men up on a path for destruction.
I mean, like I said before, um, it's a lifestyle, right? People that just like they set themselves to a standard that they can't really like get to, and they just like if they don't get there, they just start acting out and abusing their wives and vice versa. Or, wait, not vice versa.
Well,
What? And like
it's not them setting that standard even. There's like a societal standard of what it means to be a man, of what it means to be masculine. And that societal standard is reinforced and pushed by people like Andrew Tate. So it's not like these guys are like, my version of masculinity is that I need to be extremely fit, and now they're not fit, so they start beating up their wives. It's that generally they look around and they see societally, this is what it means to be a man, to be strong, to be dominant, to be in charge and authoritative. And if they feel that they're not living up to that, yes, they are more likely to report acting out in abuse against their partners. So I just feel like if we care about men and we want to see men do well, wouldn't we be advocating against some of the masculine ideals that Tate pushes for?
I mean, it's kind of weird because like I think like some of the masculine things that Tate says, uh I mean they're like it's normal masculine. It's like it was like a down. It went uphill, downhill, and then uphill, right? So like back in the day, I'm not sure when, obviously, but I know back in the day this used to be normal, right? Like all these masculine things, and a man should be the foundation. All these things used to be back in the day, right? Then they kind of started going downhill, where obviously there wasn't a role model for men, and
Hmm.
there wasn't really you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Basically, then that uphill again is basically Andrew Tate, Sneeko, people talking about men's health. Like Andrew Tate, his whole thing. First of all, it's the Matrix, right? Because you know about the Matrix, right? Like you believe in it.
I don't know
You
what you
believe
mean
it
when you
is
say, I don't know what you mean when you ask me if I believe in the Matrix.
basically like we live in a system to keep the poor poor, to keep the rich rich. Um, basically, there's people with like power that can do whatever they say. There's people controlling the social media, basically like that.
Um, so when you talk about like the poor staying poor and the rich staying rich, that sounds like a flaw with some form of capitalism. So no, I wouldn't say that that's the matrix. I would say, if anything, that could be a flaw with the economic system that we're dealing with right now. I'm pro-capitalist, but I also recognize that obviously capitalism has flaws, and there's a lot of ways to change that, right? So
Mhm.
if you're talking about the poor staying poor and the rich staying rich, that's a flaw with capitalism. That wouldn't be like some ambiguous matrix thing. That's just capitalism. And then when you say like there's a group of people controlling things, that is when you get into some yikesy territory, in my opinion, because I don't know what you mean by that. What can you explain that a little more? What do you mean, like a group of people controlling stuff?
Okay, so basically, a lot of people think he's crazy, but you know who Kanye is?
Yes,
You
of
know,
course.
whenever he showed a chart of what's it called like the percentage of people that were Jews and like controlling social media and everything, and then like the rest was like other people of other races that were controlling other things.
Uh huh.
You watched it, right? Okay. Basically, it's basically just like a huge number of Jews that have control and influence over like people up in the power benches and like social media everywhere. Like it's like Biden or Trump. Who do you stand with?
Who do I stand with? Oh, I'm with Biden. I'm riding with Biden.
Basically, it's like social media keeps out like the bad things about Biden. Like you can search it up too on Google or something. You can search up does social media keep out things bad about Biden? Like they basically make him look as good as possible. They make like they I don't know how to explain it, but it's just
Okay.
social media. You can like there's people asking there's people videos going up on the news about interviews with Trump, and they're asking him like super hard questions, and then like whenever it's like a video about or an interview about Biden, they're asking him like easy questions, like things that are super easy that he can answer, like stuff like that. It's basically like they're targeting Trump and they're making him look bad, and social media is like manipulating like everything. You know what I'm saying?
Sure. So what you're falling into right now sounds like, and this is what Kanye did also. Have you ever heard of the Jewish question?
No.
Have you
I
ever heard
mean,
of
like,
like the JQ? Sometimes it's called just the JQ.
can you like elaborate what it is? Because maybe I know what it is, but like I don't know the name.
Yeah, it's basically the idea that Jews are controlling everything, usually with
Yeah.
malintent. Um, and that I'm not saying that you are a neo-Nazi, but I just want to make it clear that that is what neo-Nazis believe. That is what Adolf Hitler believed. That's why he called it the final solution to the Jewish question. That's what the Holocaust was called, according to Adolf Hitler. So when you talk about disproportionate amounts of Jews in certain positions of power, such as Hollywood, a lot of the times that ignores why there are disproportionate amounts of Jews there to begin with. It's not just that like somehow Jews magically got there. There was historical discrimination. Thomas Edison, who invented the video camera, was extremely anti-Semitic. He didn't want Jews using his technology because he thought that they would bring their filth into the area, which is not that different than what people say nowadays about Jews. And so Jews, to avoid lawsuits, moved to California, far away from Edison. Obviously, back in the day, right, it's a lot harder to sue somebody who's thousands of miles away. So they moved over there where they started to make their own films. So it's not that surprising then that you see a disproportionate amount of Jews nowadays in Hollywood. Jews started Hollywood because of previous historical discrimination. So my issue is when you say, look at the Jews, they're in disproportionate positions of power. I don't know why that's relevant. There's also disproportionate amounts of white men in power. But I'm not saying that white people are out to ruin the world or that men want to just wreck our country. I don't know why it's relevant that they're Jews. And a lot of the times when you bring that up, it's ignoring the historical element there.
Because like it's like I think 60 or 70 like plus percent of people in the social media that are like Jews and that are controlling and manipulating it to like make people look bad that they don't agree with.
Okay, so
Like,
I'm going to ask you the killer question that I never get an answer for. What is the relevance with them being Jewish? Why could you not say men are disproportionately controlling the social media platforms and men want to make it so that certain people look good and certain people look bad? What does this have to do with them being Jews?
because it's the highest how do I say percentage. Like
Wait,
Jews
but
is the
no, it's not just Jews because there's also the highest percentage of men and white people. So why could I not say it's the white people doing it or that it's the men doing it? What is relevant to the fact that they are Jews?
I don't know, man. They're just
That's the
it's just it's
that's
just
the
the
problem
highest.
though. See, is that's the killer question that's never able to be answered because it's incoherent. You can't just say the Jews. That's a lazy cop out. It's a way to point the finger at something else, some ambiguous cabal that's controlling everything. This is just bullshit. There's a fuck ton of disagreement among Jewish people, whether you want to talk about ethnic Jews or religious Jews. They are not a monolith who all think the same, just like men are not a monolith who all think the same, and white people don't all think the same. But you trying to blame some of this on the Jews is lazy, it's cheap, and it doesn't hold up because there's nothing relevant to the decisions being made with the fact that they're Jewish. If you pointed to me and said, like, here is a text in Judaism that says, thou shall censor all conservatives or something, then okay, maybe then you'd have a point. But there's nothing that actually connects the behavior that you're complaining about to people being Jewish, just like there's nothing that connects it necessarily to people being white or men.
You have a point. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, and I mean, this is the thing is like, again, I recognize that you're young, and when I was 16, I had a lot of ideas and views about things, right? That now I look back on and I think I was wrong about a lot of stuff, but I think it's just important to really like think it through because Andrew Tate and Sneeko, these types, I feel like sometimes people don't even realize the way it's called a pipeline where you start with the Andrew Tates. You start hearing this idea about masculinity. It sounds kind of good. You see a rich, buff dude who looks like he's got a bunch of hot babes around him telling you, hey man, you just got to be alpha, be tough. And that sounds nice. But then he starts talking about the elites. And then, well, who are the elites? Well, they're Jews. And before you know it, you're in neo-Nazi territory. And I don't think that that's the direction you want to go, genuinely. I don't think that you right now, by bringing up the Jews, even meant to prop up a neo-Nazi belief. But that's the problem. That's what happens, is Tate is giving you a lazy way of thinking. It's easier to just point the finger and be like, women don't like men this way. Women are to blame. Women are at fault. It's the women's problem. Because you don't have to do any self-reflection. It's a lot easier to be like, the Jews did it. The Jews did it. Rather than actually looking into this. Why are people being censored? Are they really being censored? Last I saw, all available research demonstrates that conservative news outlets and conservative figures do significantly better on all social media platforms. They're not facing censorship. If anything, they are getting privilege. So that's the thing, is when you actually look at the numbers and start really contending with these ideas, it just starts to crumble.
Also, I didn't get the idea from Tate. It was just like it was kind of a question I had. It wasn't really like, yes, I believe every like 70%. Like this is just the number I saw, right? 70% of people controlling every single thing and censoring people on social media is 70% Jews, and that's written in stone. I was just asking a question to see if that was true or what you thought on
Sure. No,
it.
I'm not. Don't get me wrong. I'm not accusing you of anything. I don't think you're like a neo-Nazi or anything. Okay.
Mhm.
I'm not accusing you of anything. But yeah, that's what people do also. They'll be like, look at all these people that are Jews. Okay, well, how many of those Jews were white men? Why can't I say white men did it? Why can't I just say men did it? Men are in disproportionate positions of power across the board. Everywhere there are more men in positions of power than there are women. There are more white men in positions of power than there are black men. Why can't I say that there's a secret cabal of white men that want to stop everything or stop masculinity or censor people? There's nothing that actually connects this to them being Jews. And if you look at the research again, the majority of Jews identify themselves as white. The majority of Jews here in America are white. So connecting it to Jews rather than white people is when you start falling into that neo-Nazi territory, where suddenly it's not really the white people, it's something about the Jews. And that's why you hear people say like the Jewry must be stopped, kind of shit like that, right? And that's sort of the ideas that you're falling into. It's like the trap.
Mhm. Um, what do you think about the idea of a woman who wants someone with 8 times like the paycheck, like 8 times the average man's like normal wage, should have 8 times or 8 girlfriends? What do you think about that? So polygyny, I think it's called.
So a woman who wants a man to make 8 times the amount of money, that man should be allowed to have 8 partners.
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's pretty silly.
Like for both ways, or
Yeah, I think that if you're going to be in a relationship, that being in a monogamous, committed relationship is probably best. Of course, that's more or less my own opinion. If you have come to a mutual agreement as a couple that you want to be in an open relationship or an open marriage or whatever, I'm fine with that. Again, my ultimate position is really just do what you want to do as long as you're not hurting other people. I would say, though, a man who is committed to a woman, whether it's dating or marriage, and then goes out and sleeps around with other people, it's that's cheating. So that would be a form of emotional abuse. And so now you're doing harm to another person. So I would say that that's wrong. But if you've come to a mutual agreement, like, hey, I make a lot of money, I've got a lot of stuff going on for me. I want to be able to sleep around, and she's okay with that. Again, I mean, like, okay, fine. I'm not going to stop you. But no, just as a general rule, I think that's pretty silly.
for say, basically what he does is, yeah, what you just explained. With women, like, or the woman he like has a relationship with, they like you can ask every single. I mean, you obviously can't because but basically in his videos you can tell, like they even said it, that they're fine with him sleeping with other women. Now the other girls he meets up with, that those are hoes, right? So they're not in a relationship. Like he just sleeps with them, right?
Uh huh.
Like he's not actually in a relationship, so he can sleep with them, then go to the next house and sleep with another woman because like it's not a relationship, so it's technically not cheating. And
Yeah, okay.
for
I mean, again, it's like I'm not particularly a fan of that for my own personal life. But again, is if that's like the agreement that they're in and it's all consensual so far as like the partner's like, yes, it's fine if you sleep around or whatever. I don't really care. But again, as like a general rule, just like I make more money, so I should be able to sleep around. That I don't like.
I mean, well, like I was just defending the fact that most people say he like cheats on his girlfriends and abuses like them, doesn't tell them. That's not really true because pretty sure like before he of every which each of his girlfriends before he does anything, he has a mutual understanding that like he has a lot of money. They obviously just want him for his money, right? So they have a mutual understanding that he can go like sleep with other women. Like they're literally rich. Why would they care unless they have an actual connection with him?
Yeah, I mean, again, Tate is very focused on the shallow elements of dating and relationships. This idea that like she just wants me for my money. I don't really need a connection with this person. I'm just gonna kind of fuck her and leave her. That's just a really shallow perspective. And again, I think if in general, if we want to see men living healthier, happier lives with intimate connections, that kind of a mindset is not going to cut it. You're going to want to be with a partner who you can invest yourself in, and vice versa, and really get to have a deep, intimate connection with. That's ultimately going to lead to more happiness and fulfillment. But again, if Tate is doing what he wants to do and it's consensual, then I can't really speak on that.
Yeah. Basically, it's like me and my friends. Like I'm giving you me as an example, like my personal view. Like after I have my first relationship, like I kind of just want to like hold around and have fun and then settle down
Hmm.
because like it's kind of your teens, it's your life. Like you're starting out. You're not just gonna be in a relationship, have stress, blah blah blah, do all this stuff early. Like I already went through that, right? So like I just wanna hoe around, have fun, and then actually settle down.
Yeah, I mean,
Does
I
that make
was
sense?
I was the same way when I was younger too. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think that like again, it's your life. I think that you should be aware though that there are definitely like risks that come with that.
Mhm.
This idea that Tate posits that's like you can just fuck around and you're all good. Like I can tell you from experience that that is not what happens. Whether it's you or the other person you're like friends with benefits for or with, feelings will develop and things will get complicated and things will get messy and things are going to be uncomfortable and suddenly it's not going to be that fun anymore because now things are weird and awkward and now you're with this person who wants to be with you and you're not really interested in them or vice versa or you have your heart broken. There's also the more practical risks such as like STDs and whatnot. The thing is that like well, I was raised pretty sheltered. So at 16, I wasn't quite in the same mindset as you are, but definitely as I got a little older, I was. And I look back now and I see that it was kind of silly. It was really shallow, and I never really had fulfillment out of living that kind of a life. But again, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm not telling you how to live your life. I just think that there are things to consider. And last but not least, I'll say if you're saying you want to go and hoe around or whatever, the
Mhm.
problem that I have is that with this red pill stuff is that's seen as like the baller thing to do as the man, but if a woman does it, suddenly that like degrades her worth or value or something, as if a woman's worth and value is based purely on her sexuality. And so you see a lot of these red pill people say that like women should be virgins, they should have very small body count, they need to be really good and caring and nice at home in the kitchen, whatever they say, right? And then they say, but they want to go and sleep around. If they want women to behave the way that they're saying women should act, who are they going to sleep with? Like, there's like a fundamental contradiction there because if they're saying women should be virgins, but they want to go out and hoe around, well, clearly then women are not all going to be like these perfect, God fearing virgins because you're out there fucking around. So it's just, there's a lot of contradictions there as well.
So basically, again, that's like their way of living, saying they prefer women with low body counts because it's more of like a how do I explain it? It's like it feels better. Like if you just go and you get a hoe and she just sleeps with everybody and you sleep with her, like you don't really get any fulfillment in that because it's just like you're just sleeping with a hoe. It's like buying a hooker, basically like that. But if you like if there's this girl, she walks into a club, men talking to her, she doesn't even care about them. Like she's like to herself, she's like hard to get. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's Andrew Tate's like her sneakers, blah blah blah, fresh and fit. That's their like enjoyment. Like they like whenever they have to work to get a female. Because if they don't, then she's just a hoe. Like you can tell if you don't have to work to get a female, like you can just tell she's a hoe. Not like 100% of the time, but you know what I'm saying?
No, I don't think I would agree with this because this is the thing is like, is the man who sleeps with any girl that's willing to, is he a hoe as well?
Yeah.
Okay, I
It
mean, if
goes.
you're applying it equally, like, but with your definitions, then okay. But like, this is where I always go is that like, there's more to a woman than her body count and her sexuality. And I think that a lot of the fresh and fit, Sneeko, Tate sort of mindset is that women suddenly lose value or are seen with less worth because they've slept with people. And I don't think that having sex degrades a woman's value. I also think that that mindset can be incredibly dangerous in ways that I myself had not even thought about until I got a little older, such as if a woman has been taught all her life that her value is mostly, if not 100%, in her virginity, right?
Mhm.
And then let's say she's assaulted. What if she's raped? Suddenly she feels now that she is worthless. Maybe she doesn't want to tell anybody because now her entire worth has been destroyed because she's been assaulted. And it's that kind of mindset as well. You might have heard of like purity culture in religious circles and whatnot. It's that kind of mindset that actually leads to more abuse and more sexual assault towards women. Because if they have been led to believe that all of their value is in the fact that they're virgin, if they're raped or abused or something, it's going to be a lot harder to come out and talk about it because now you feel like not only have I been violated, I've also had my entire worth taken from me.
I mean, yeah, that's just like rape. Like I don't think The only thing about rape is if you walk through Chicago, like yeah, this is an example. If you walk through a gang, right, like a gang of gang members, like at 2 a.m. in a dark alley by yourself, wearing a what's called a high top or crop top, yeah, crop top with revealing shorts. Like obviously you're gonna put yourself in a dangerous situation. It's not your like if you get raped, it's wrong. They're wrong. They should go to jail. But at the same time, you are putting yourself in a dangerous situation. Like you could literally just not go down the alley. You know what I'm saying, right? You
Yeah,
understand what I'm
yeah,
saying?
and this, I mean, people get really touchy about this, but like I would be of the same opinion, so much so as as an individual, all of us, not just women, everybody has a responsibility to try and keep themselves safe. Yeah, don't make stupid decisions and start walking down a dark alley alone in the middle of the night. But I think where you might be going wrong here is when you say, like, she's wearing revealing clothing. This is something that a lot of people don't understand, but rape is not primarily a sexual crime. It's actually a crime of power. People usually rape others because they want to feel a form of control and dominance over another person. So, what you'll actually see statistically is that it's not the women who are walking around dressed skimpy who are getting abused. It's more often the women who are being reserved, staying out of the way, covering themselves up because they are seen as more vulnerable, and that's why they tend to be targeted more. So, it's not so much like don't wear the skimpy clothes, because then you do get into territory which is, what was she wearing? Maybe she kind of asked for it by having her clothes like this. I know that's not what you're saying, but it's not that far off.
Yeah.
The better argument, honestly, is, hey, do the best you can to keep yourself safe. Just like, if you go downtown and you're in a shitty neighborhood, you probably shouldn't leave your car doors unlocked. If you do, and then your car gets stolen, the response there probably wouldn't be, well, why the fuck did you leave your car unlocked? It's like, okay, you may have made a mistake in doing that, but it's not your fault that your car got stolen. Just like, yeah, maybe it's not a smart idea to walk down an alley alone in the middle of the night, but it's not your fault if you get raped. It's just that generally speaking, yeah, you should take care of yourself and do what you can to keep yourself safe and protect yourself. But if something terrible happens, it's not your fault.
I mean, I kind of think with rape, it's not your fault, but like leaving your like if you said, mom, can you pick me up? Someone stole my car. And then you're like, wait, how did they steal your car? Like, oh, because I left my car door unlocked. Then whose fault is it gonna be? It's kind of your fault if you left the door unlocked because it was your
Well, you were
responsibility.
irresponsible so far as leaving the car unlocked, but the fault of the car being stolen is the person that stole the car.
I mean, if it wasn't like, yeah, he stole it, but it wasn't the guys that stole its fault because, like, if he was your friend and he stole it, it's his fault, right? Like, who could have known that he was gonna be fake? But if you left the door unlocked, that is your fault because you were irresponsible with your own property.
Sure, and I think that I can build off this a little bit more so, which is that it's like you want to give general advice without building the advice off of somebody who's been victimized. I know that doesn't really make sense, so let me explain. But like, okay, if a woman has been walking down a dark alley and then she gets raped, your response to the actual victim shouldn't be, you should be more responsible. You should have kept yourself safe. Why did you walk down the dark alley? The response being that to the actual victim is wrong. General advice, however, like if I get up here on stream and say, hey, generally speaking, if you are a single woman walking around late at night alone in a dark alley, that's not a good idea. You should do what you can to stay safe. Bring a friend with you, make sure you have pepper spray, tell a friend where you're going so that they know where you are, something there, right? General advice is fine, but giving the advice in response to somebody who's been victimized is when you fall into the almost victim blaming territory.
Mhm. And again, I wasn't like that's why I said at the beginning that I didn't think I was talking about the like leaving your car unlocked. That was I said specifically at the beginning that I don't think even if you walk through the alley, I think you put yourself in a risky situation, but you didn't. It wasn't your fault that you got raped. I said it's your fault if you lose the keys and then it gets stolen because you gave the opportunity for this what's it called for the thug to take your car, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that also it's that, and another important fact to remember is that most women who are raped, it's done by people they already know. Like a lot of the times when you
Well,
hear of a rape, you tend to think of, yeah, that dark alley, a woman running away, trying to get away, and a bunch of disgusting men pigs like attacking her and dragging her down. but that's not actually the most. The most rapes occur by somebody they already know. Usually, it's a partner or a friend or even a family member. So, I mean, there's different advice, I guess, that would go along with that as well. But yeah, I would just advise to make sure that when you talk about that kind of stuff, that you're doing so in the proper context.
Yeah, that's why I said in the valley, because obviously, if your family member is gonna be a rapist, you can't just be like, "Damn, it's your fault that you didn't account for your family member wanting to," like, you know what I'm saying?
Right. You can't be like, stay away from your brother in case. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
obviously.
exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, I appreciate you coming on here, man. I hope that I was able to hopefully this nerd was able to give you some advice on the real world a little bit.
All right.
All right. Well, if you ever want to talk again, just hit me up and yeah, just I would just say make sure, you're really thinking through stuff. You're only 16. I remember being 16 and 17 having a lot of political ideas, and I can guarantee you your ideas will change with time. Just don't be afraid to challenge what you believe.
All right.
See ya.
Bye.